Okay.
Okay. You would hit the next slide. So tonight, welcome. For those that don't know, my name is Don Feldman. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Plant Services at the district. Tonight is the mandated 24-25 budget hearing. And following the budget hearing, we will do our annual Meet the Candidates Night, where we have 5 candidates running for 2 seats in the board. So they'll all have their opportunity to kind of provide a statement to the community and to those watching online. And then questions and answer period to follow. So if you'd hit the next slide. So from the budgetary standpoint, the budget to budget kind of snapshot, as it were, the 24-25 proposed budget is $100,410,422. Important notes of the budget: it does maintain all programming across all levels and school configurations. There were no job cuts. It is under the state imposed property tax cap, which for Sweet Home for the 24-25 school year was 3.9%. Our proposed budget, and that budget was approved by the Board of Education April, help me, what day was it? April 16th. Thank you very much. That proposed budget comes out with a proposed levy increase of 1.8%, which is below the tax property cap of 3.9%, which means that the budget needs a simple majority to pass. The budget does maintain an annual bus purchase for us. 6 new buses, 3 large passenger buses, and 3 small passenger buses, 30 passenger buses. New for the district this year, the 3 large passenger buses that we are purchasing, assuming that the budget does pass, will be electric. They'll be our first 3 electric buses in our fleet. So we're excited about that. And then there is a proposition on the budget proposal to spend $52,920 over the next 2 budgetary years, so a little over $26,400 each of the next 2 years to maintain the lease on the Maple-Mere temporary classrooms for the 24-25 and 25-26 school budgetary years. That is necessitated by the fact that we are seeking to spend general fund dollars on that. To this point, we've spent federal funds either through CARES Act 2, or the American Rescue Plan. So because we are asking for permission to spend $52,920 over the next 2 budgetary years, State Ed does say that we need to seek a voter approval. So that will be a proposition on next year's budget. So in essence, the proposed budget, again, is $100,410,422. The current year budget year, we're at $96,886,588. Our budget to budget increase from this school year to the proposed budget for vote next year is $3,523,833, or a 3.64% increase. New York State education law says that we must present our budget in 3 parts. The administrative part, which includes a costs associated to the Board of Education, the Superintendent's Office, curriculum and staff development, printing and publishing, and supervision and support in each of our 6 schools. The program budget, which is the instructional component of our budget for the district's 34, that's actually should be 3,600 students. Included in there are salaries of teachers, guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, coaches, therapists, teacher aides, computer technicians, and related clerical support staff. Included are also their fringe benefits, and we'll talk about that shortly. Our transportation, we've lost our microphone. Our transportation, instructional computers, supplies, and textbooks, special education services are also included in that component. The capital budget includes all of our buildings and grounds salaries, our equipment, vehicles, utilities, repairs, rentals, and contracts for all the custodial grounds and maintenance of the district buildings. And it also includes salary or fringe benefits for those folks as well. So it is a 3-part budget. There we go. We're back. 3-part budget for administrative, program, and capital components. So this gives you kind of a snapshot of percentage-wise of where we are in a total budget of $100,410,422. From the administrative side, our proposed budget has an administrative component of $7,975,762, which represents about it is a 7.9% of our budget. The program budget, we're asking, as part of the proposed budget, it would be $75,882,180, which represents a 75.6% portion of our budget. And then the capital portion of our budget is $16,552,479. Just a couple points of note. On the program side, we have seen a number of teacher retirements that have helped that area. But on both the program and the capital component portion, we've seen from a fringe benefit standpoint, anywhere from a 10 to 12% increase in health insurance benefits across the board. And this is just a bar representation of the administrative and of the three parts of the budget. The administrative budget, you can see last year was at 7.8, or this current year is at 7.8%. Next year, we're proposing to be 7.9%. The program budget, as part of the overall makeup of this year's budget, is 76.2%. We anticipate it going to 75.6% in this next budget. And then the capital component, 16% this current year, 16.5% next year. So on the revenue side of the budget, you can see the kind of the makeup there of the overall revenue side of our budget for the coming school year, the proposed budget, again, $100,410,422. Real property taxes make up 54% of that proposed budget. State aid, 35.1%. Use of our reserves and fund balance, 2.8%. Our debt service reserve, 0.5%. Sales tax, 5.1%. And other portions, pilots, tuitions, and interest, about 2.5%. Some highlights on the revenue side. We have seen a $3.1 million increase in foundation and expense-driven aids from last year. Although we are not fully funded in terms of foundation aid, if you've been kind of with us kind of along the exciting ride of building a school budget, you'd know that in the executive proposal, initially we were shorted from being fully funded to $320,350 in state aid state foundation aid to be fully funded. And then in the budget that passed, the enacted budget that passed at the state level, we saw another about $194,000 cut in foundation aid. That happened after our Board of Education approved the budget, just so folks out there know that. We have seen, we are predicting about a $600,000 increase in sales tax from the current year. For the majority of our budgetary process, we did have $500,000 of an increase after speaking with the board at our April study session, which would have been our third budget study session. We increased that based upon projections. We did get our third quarter sales tax receipts in from the county, so we did increase that $100,000 to kind of offset some of the tax levy increase that we were asking for. And then we did utilize additional reserve fundage, reserve funds to help us kind of offset that initial $320,000 in shortfall in state aid to make up that gap and not to apply it to the local tax levy. We are lastly using $515,000 in our debt service reserve to continue to exhaust that reserve. If you remember, as we went through the state comptroller's audit, that's part of the plan. We built that state reserve, the debt service reserve, following our audit in 2016, due to a kind of a misstep in how the aid was paid out to kind of offset some of the local share, with the idea that it would be spent down to use to offset debt service in general. So we're using $515,000 of that in the proposed 24-25 budget. So our proposed tax levy, the total tax levy that we're proposing as part of the budget is $54,268,072, which is a tax levy increase from this current budget year of $946,484. Translates to a tax levy percentage increase of 1.8%. As I mentioned at the onset, the tax cap limit set forth by New York State for Sweet Home for the 24-25 school year is 3.90%. So again, we fall well below that tax cap limit. Thus, we will only need a simple majority for the budget vote to pass on Tuesday, May 21st. So again, if you've been with us kind of along the way and have been keen to what is happening in terms of assessments in the town of Amherst, this slide is our best guesstimate as to where we are right now in terms of impact on tax rates. So there are, just for the good of the cause here, we are using assessed values that we have in place from this current school year for the town of Tonawanda. We have increased the Amherst equalization rate from its current rate of 62% to 100%, which is what the town is moving towards. The town of Tonawanda equalization rate has been reduced from 29 to 24%, which is where it currently is. And we're utilizing kind of in that red call out box information on assessments that were presented to the district from the town of Amherst clerk's office that were used to estimate tax bills that were sent to town residents at the onset of kind of this revaluation and going to full value at 100%. So we believe at this point in time that under the proposed budget on a home assessed at $150,000, a tax rate for the town of Amherst for the 24-25 budget would be $9.16 per thousand. It would translate to a tax bill of $1,374. And from the current year, it's a tax savings of $65. On the Tonawanda side, we anticipate that based upon the information as presented to us today, that a tax rate would be $39.20 per thousand, translate to a tax bill of $1,411, which would be a decrease of $33 from the current year on a home assessed at about $150,000. This again, I just caution folks, this is our best guess as to where we are right now. Based upon information as presented to us from the town assessor's office at the town of Amherst. Technology. Thanks. Thanks. So in summary, there will be, we'll ask voters to vote on three different propositions. The first would be to approve the budget, which again is $100,410,422. It's a budget to budget increase of 3.6%. It's a tax levy increase of 1.8%, below the state imposed tax cap of 3.9%, also below the average rate of inflation. Thus, we'll only need the simple majority to pass the budget. Proposition number two will be the use of the general funds to extend the Maple Mere temporary classroom lease through October 31st of 2026. This will allow us, if it passes, to spend a total of $52,920 over the next two budgetary years to maintain those classrooms on the Maple Mere campus. And then lastly, we will ask folks to vote on two Board of Education candidates. The term of Mr. Feldman expires on June 30th, 2024. The top vote getter would get the 5-year term of Mr. Feldman's seat. And then the second place finisher will finish out the remainder of Kaylee McDonald's seat. Kaylee resigned from the board in April. So that second place finisher will receive the remainder of her term this year and one additional year for the 24-25 school year. And though that term would expire on June 30th, 2025. We do have the candidates for the board here tonight: Danielle Anthon, Bill Kenny, Jonathan Makeley, Alan Plath, and Dirk Ravenel. So I would ask at this point in time, if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those, or if anybody from the audience has questions, I'd be certainly happy to answer those. Board, any questions from the board?
And then August is actually when you're going to get finalized rates for.
Yep. So the board, as part of their August voting meeting, usually happens the third week of August. We make, my office makes a recommendation to the superintendent and to the board based upon the performance of this year's budget, the amount of money that we'll set aside in reserve accounts for the district. But also, more importantly, we also set tax rates based on information that we get from both the town of Tonawanda and the town of Amherst. Any questions from, oh, sorry, Scott, did you have a
I
question?
assume we've heard nothing from Tonawanda yet on that property, the equalization rate going down like it usually does?
No, we've not heard anything. We did reach out to the town of Tonawanda a couple of times and have not heard anything back from them as far as where they're going with equalization rates, or if anything's going to change in terms of their assessment, reevaluation schedules and things along those lines. So I don't have any information at this point.
Thank you.
Sure. Any questions? Mr. Radnold? You're welcome. That's a fair assessment. I think there's two things in that. Number one, the savings. There are a couple of things in that. The teachers that are retiring, there is going forward a retirement incentive that has been increased in the teacher's contract. Some of that money is there. The teachers have entered into a brand new contract. So some of the step and increment increases there, some of that money's taken there, but the majority of the money that was realized in savings from the retirements, again, at about 10 to 12% increase in health insurance. Yes. Correct. No, this is based on the new contract. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Jonathan.
Services.
So operations and maintenance, I'll start there. Operations and maintenance, generally, those employees are part of the service employee contract. They are entering into year 3 of a 4-year contract. Each of the years represent a 6% increase in their overall wages. So that is a significant portion of that. And then I'm sorry, what was your other question about? Computer instruction? Generally, overall speaking, again, those members are part of the Service Employees Association. But we are also, from a computer services standpoint, each of the last 3 years we've benefited from, as many of you know, the district is 1-to-1 in terms of a digital. Each student K to 12 has got iPads, and we usually replace 3 classes, 3 cohorts every year of iPads. And for the last 3 or 4 years, those iPads have been purchased out of federal funds and they've not hit the general fund. with the expiration of all of the federal funds this year, that those expenses have to go back into the general fund.
One more on us.
Of course.
I think in your. Talked about using. Deficit was larger.
We did. So from the just to kind of give you a kind of a ballpark, last year, if you remember, this current year's budget, we went out tax neutral, and we utilized a little over $1 million in reserve funds to help us balance the budget and to go out tax neutral, and due in large part because of the amount of money that we've received, not only from state aid, but the federal funds. We felt it, and the board felt it was appropriate to do that for the current school year. When we were going through and building the budget, we took that money out of the budget. But based upon some conversations initially about the shortfall in state aid, we felt as though rather than recouping that money from a tax levy and a tax levy increase, we utilized reserve funds to offset that. So those shortfalls in state aid did not impact the tax levy. We utilized reserve funds instead. Sure. Any other questions? Okay, just from the last piece of it, the budget vote is 2 weeks from tonight, Tuesday, May 21st. We'll be here in Virgil's from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Information on the budget is on our website. There's a button on our website for the 24-25 budget. You'll see all the steps and the processes in development of our budget, recaps of all 4 of our budget study sessions with the board, and how we got to where we got to. So that can be found on sweethomeschools.org. We'll have the budgetary newsletter is done. It's at the printer. It's on its way to the post office. So it'll be in mailboxes across the district next week. And then we'll also mail our mandatory 6-day budget notice postcard home. Those will be dropped in the post office tomorrow. So you'll get all of the information that you need. We'd certainly welcome to reach out either to the superintendent's office or the business office with any questions. But again, 7 to 9 o'clock, Tuesday, May 21st. I'd be remiss to tell you if I didn't. Dollars for Scholars is sponsoring a chicken barbecue from 4 to 7. So if you're hungry, come on out. At this point in time, I would ask that the board kind of come back and sit in the audience. We'll move to our Meet the Candidates portion. And then the 5 candidates, if they would, kind of take a spot at one of the seats up front with a microphone, and we'll go from there.
Slide over to.
Oh, you're not? Yes, that's, sorry. Yes, that is exactly it. I am away more often than I'm home, I think, these days. It's got,
I got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's, as you know, this job takes a lot of time.
It does, yes.
Do it right.
Or anywhere we want to sit? Want to sit in alphabetical order? This is my old seat, so I'll sit there.
You want to sit there? There you go.
Use the hammer. Yes.
Okay, as the candidates get settled in, again, just for the good of the cause, we have 2 open seats for our Board of Education. The first that is available is a 5-year term, as the term of Josh Feldman is expiring in June. The top vote getter in the election will receive that 5-year term. That 5-year term will expire on June 30th, 2029. right? 2029, yep, my math is good. And then the second place vote getter will receive the remainder of Kaylee McDonald's term, which will be for the remainder of this school year, and then the 24-25 school year as well. So candidates, just kind of for the good of the cause here, we'll give you each, 3 minutes or so to give you a little statement. Then we've asked for questions to come in. Dr. Genestri has asked for questions from the community to come in. We've got a couple of those, and then we'll open it up to the audience if there are any questions. So any questions from you guys before we start? Seeing none, I'm just going to kind of go right down the line. So Danielle, if you want to start with your statement, we'll go from there, okay?
Sure. This is weird. Weird being on this side, isn't it? So, hi, my name is Danielle Anthon. So, Sweet Home, it is really nice to meet you. I have lived in the Sweet Home district with my children, Oliver, age 16 at the high school, and Matthew, age 11 at Maplemere since 2014. I began school here at Heritage Heights before moving away, and it was only fitting that one day I returned to Sweet Home with my children. My journey as an 8th grade English language arts teacher began in Hawaii, where I gained invaluable insights from students representing a multitude of cultures. Upon relocating home to New York in 2009, I worked for Buffalo Public Schools, assisting educators district-wide in implementing and navigating technology while leveraging data derived from those systems. From there, my career organically transitioned into my current role as a learning development consultant and instructional designer. As an instructional designer, I frequently delve into projects with limited prior knowledge, but emerge equipped to effectively teach that subject matter to others and design learning that is accessible and precise. I have overseen budgets for contracts spanning state, federal, Department of Defense, and private sectors. If elected, I aim to leverage my diverse background in education and the private sector to contribute to this position. While my career has shifted away from K-12 public education, my soul has never left. Over the years, I've worked hard to stay knowledgeable in national education trends, data, funding, and policy, and more specifically with what is happening here at home in our district. This is not simply because I am a parent who wishes to be well-informed and involved, but because truly I believe that at some point in my life, I would be called to serve in some capacity in public education again. Over the years, I've been nothing but impressed with the way that each of the buildings that my children have passed through have facilitated their education. Our educators are top-notch, communicative, professional, and innovative in their methods to teach and connect with students. It was our educators who gave me the courage I needed in deciding to run for school board. My entire life, my mother has talked to me about the power of gratitude, the importance of showing appreciation when someone helps you. By running for school board, I hope to serve in a way that shows my appreciation for all that this district has done for my family. Our district has so much to offer, and the opportunities for our students really are endless. But while we have so much to be proud of, we are not without our challenges. This past year was a difficult one for this community. I saw the toll that contract negotiations were taking on everyone, and it was so disheartening to see our educators, our community, and our district personnel struggling. I think there's been a perceived us versus them mentality regarding doing what's best for our students, and quite frankly, this is something that should not exist in education. Who is us and who are them? There is no enemy when everyone has the best interest of the students at top of mind. A few years ago, I saw a bumper sticker that made me laugh, but I feel that at the heart of what it said, there is a truth. It said, "Be the person your dog thinks you are." So basically, this means that your dog sees you through the eyes of unconditional admiration and truly believes that you must be the best person on earth because you're their person. My dog, Luna, a rescue with massive separation anxiety, would tell you this about me. She feels safe. She feels cared for, loved, listened to, and most definitely knows that she's important. She knows that I'm her person and I'll always return home to her. She trusts me. These are characteristics I try to embody in my career and in my everyday life with my family. And if elected, I will absolutely share them with our community. There are very few concrete promises of change that I will make today because to do so without all of the background information needed to be able to deliver on them would just be lip service. If elected, what I will promise you is that I'm going to learn everything possible to help support our students, their parents and families, our teachers, and this community. I can promise you that I will be transparent with you. I can promise that you can trust me to learn and work hard for you. I promise to be the person my dog thinks I am. Thank you so much for listening, and please come out and vote on the 21st.
Thank you, Danielle. Jonathan, if you want to take your statement, please.
Okay, and hello everyone. My name is Jonathan Makeley. I've lived in this district for the past 7 years. Over the years, I've attended many of the school board meetings, so I've been able to see a lot of what goes on in these meetings and hear about a lot of the great work that is being done by so many caring people in our community to try to deal with our challenges, to try to make things better, to deliver a good quality of education, which is something that I very much care about. To give some sense about me, I'm originally from a small town in Western New York. Growing up, I was one of the first students in my school district to be neurodivergent students within it, and as such, there was a limited capacity to support such students. So I ended up struggling in school in the early years, ended up having to go to a different school district to receive a better degree of support until I returned to my original school district in high school. With that, I was able to do well academically. I spent much of my free time studying history and other subjects I was interested in, and eventually went on to study to become a historian in college. Professionally, I'm a historian. I had a specialty into the researching the history of American reform movements. In my work, I have experience working in several different historical societies. From that, I have experience serving on organizational boards, helping to develop policies, budgets, plan events, which is the type of work that's involved within the school board. Additionally, I have experience in analyzing complex topics to be able to develop a deeper understanding of them and to try to convey that understanding in discussions with others. I hope to utilize these skills and my approach, should I be on the board, to be able to look at the issues that are facing our community to try to develop better responses for it. I believe strongly that all students should have access to a good quality of education, which supports their needs. I believe in collaborative leadership and trying to bring together the perspectives of the different parts of our community to try to find common ground and work towards making things better. I believe in the importance of working to foster information literacy so that our students can deal with an increasingly complex world of information, and making sure we have strong teaching in core subjects, but also that we support opportunities for students to be able to look into and learn more about the subjects that are of particular interest to them. And if I was elected, I would seek to work with the other members of the board to look at the issues facing our district to try to find approaches that we can work to improve where we can and to build upon the good work that already exists, so that we can try to do the best for our students that we can. And that's why in this, I would hope that you would consider me when you're voting on this coming 21st.
Thank you, Jonathan. Alan Plath, would you mind reading your statement, please?
Certainly. Good evening. My name is Alan Plath, and I appreciate you being here to meet me and the other candidates to the Sweet Home Board of Education. First and foremost, I'm a parent. Like many of you, my greatest priority is ensuring the best possible future for our children. I want what's best for my kids and your kids. In today's climate, I believe that our primary goal should be to mold good human beings who are equipped to succeed in whatever path they choose. Success looks different for each student, and it's our responsibility to provide them the tools and support they need to thrive. My approach will always be authentic. I will stand up for what is right, and I take pride in listening to different points of view. My experiences have taught me the importance of collaboration and effective, transparent communication among all stakeholders, including students, teachers, administrators, and the community. I embrace new ideas, and I'm committed to doing so to benefit our district. Growing up, I was a product of public schools. I understand the value of a well-rounded education. I was involved in athletics, chorus, musicals, and I saw firsthand how these activities can enrich a student's experience. My boys, now in 9th and 6th grade, have different interests. One is an athlete, one's a musician. This provides me with a deeper understanding of the diverse needs and talents of our students. Our boys have spent their entire academic journeys in the Sweet Home District. This has given us a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities that students and parents face from UPK through high school. My wife and I have always embraced the diversity within our district as one of those great opportunities that Sweet Home has provided our kids. As a 20-year resident of the district, my sole purpose is to enhance the student experience. We need to foster our students' ability to become lifelong learners and achieve their goals by creating an environment where they can flourish educationally, socially, and emotionally. Over the years, I've contributed positively to the district, serving on the Glendale Principal Hiring Committee and the Workforce Diversity Subcommittee. A passion of mine is coaching youth baseball, and this has taught me the importance of building confidence and teamwork in young people. This past summer, I was instrumental in coordinating the inaugural Sweet Home Futures baseball game for incoming 6th and 7th graders, building a sense of community with high school athletes and introducing them to Sweet Home athletics. As a volunteer, I've held a leadership role as the vice president of the Parkview Community Board for 10 years. I'm also an avid supporter of the Ride for Roswell, raising over $150,000 through the team I established. Professionally, I've managed large-scale teams, supported the growth of staff, and managed multi-million-dollar P&Ls. Today, I operate a successful resume writing business where I've been a strategic partner to executives globally. This has honed my strengths in working with people at all levels, from executives to frontline staff, and I believe this skill will serve me well in this role. I am confident that my professional and community-centered background has prepared me to provide the appropriate leadership and strategic direction to address critical district matters. I plan on being an equal voice for all involved parties and believe that by all of us working together, we can create an environment that supports the whole student, from academics to extracurricular activities, and prepares them for success in whatever path they choose. I'm eager to create a positive impact on our students and on our community while helping evolve Sweet Home into a district we all can be proud of.
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Kenny, Bill Kenny, would you
Yes.
please share your statement with us?
Thank you. The dream of being Bob Barker finally achieved. Microphones. Hi, my name is Bill Kenny. I am a father of 3 kids in 7th grade, 4th grade, and 1st grade. The 4th and 1st grader, they attend Willow Ridge, where my wife and I have lived for the last 15 plus years. We love the community so much. When we were looking for a second home, we moved to the other side of the neighborhood to support our growing family. So it's something that when we came to this district in April of 2009, you learn and you grow and you see our community in our neighborhood in particular kind of evolve and change with us, right? And so we've seen as our neighborhood has gotten a little bit younger and more diverse, and then we meet our kids' friends, and it's great. We live on a cul-de-sac where we have no concerns about the safety of our children. It's a great neighborhood. We know that there's all these other parents, adopted aunts and uncles for them, right? Watching them, making sure everything's okay, keeping them in line for sure. But we love this district, right? Last week, my daughter's chorus concert over at the high school in the beautifully redone auditorium over there. Investing in the arts, so important, right? Tonight, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend my oldest modified baseball game because I was here, but got lots of updates and texts from my wife during that game. And you look through these, you look through these magazines and you see how important it is to have that diversity of programming, right? You have your athletics, you have your arts, you have your educational programs. The presentation that the teachers put together at the last meeting back in April was really fascinating to see, right? How they're replacing the STAR program and just kind of learning a little bit more, right? And that's what this is all about for me. I'm learning, right? Just what we want our students to learn, we're going to learn too, right? I'm going to learn. I don't know everything. I know I don't, right? But I want to see all those different perspectives and give all those different perspectives equal opportunity. You know, it's important. And school boards have become, at least over the last few years, something of a battleground, something of an us versus them, as Danielle was referring to, right? That's not going to push us forward, right? We all think we know what's best, right? But some of us have to enact it sometimes, right? Been a coach for God, 5 years now, and couldn't eat before that first game when I stepped out on the field. I think I played you. Maybe, I don't remember. I've coached against this guy a bunch of times on the baseball field. I usually win, but it's great, right? I've learned so much through my time at Mellot on the board of directors over there, and now starting an independent baseball organization and assisting wherever I can with the kids' programs, whether it be baseball, it be hockey, it be chorus, it be dance, whatever it is, right? Love this district, love everything about it, love everything it represents. Young father wanting to do more to help out in any way, shape, or form. I want to listen to everybody, get a better understanding of what this district can be in the future. We know that there's a big budget vote coming up a couple of weeks, but then there's an even bigger capital budget coming down in a few years. You need to have some people that are invested in that, right? I'm invested in it. I can prove it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Mr. Dirk Rabinold, if you'd share your statement with us, please.
Certainly. First of all, I'd like to thank these residents to come forward and run for this seat. It's been a few years where I've encouraged others to run. And actually this year, someone came to me and said, you know what, if we carry a petition, will you run again? I said, yes. And here I am. So just from the movie, The Godfather, just when you thought you were out, they pull you right back in. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Dirk Rabinold, and I have a little spiel for you here. It talks about my experience and where I think we need to go and what we need to do together. So the most important institution today are our public schools. An educated populace and community participation help guide these schools. The role of the school board should be to ensure resources are used efficiently and effectively to provide a quality education. Today's school boards seem to have lost their way. They give more importance to the whims of the Board of Regents and the Albany politicians rather than the education of our children. We need to work together to push back on these whims. Enough is enough. Prior to serving on the school board, I worked with several parents, students, and teachers to make boys ice hockey a school-sponsored sport. For 3 years, we put that referendum on a ballot. And eventually it was not passed, but eventually adopted by the board. I take great pride in that. I always loved hockey, and my children all played hockey, so it was great. Eventually, well, I'm sorry, 3 years later, we actually had girls ice hockey adopted and funded through the school. And I was happy to support that along as my role as a school board member and support of those parents to bring it forward. I have served as a member of the Sweet Home School Board from July of 2000 till June of 2020. Early on in my tenure with the board, I worked alongside teachers and community, and we were able to alter the composition of the board and district office, which consequently led to many positive changes for this district. With the help of a fellow board member, parents and teachers again, we fought for and gratefully kept Heritage Heights open. Heritage Heights Elementary today is certainly well needed for taking care of our children. And we did these things together. We put the students and the family's interests first. My wife Robin and I are proud parents of 3 grown children, all of who went through Sweet Home. Today, we have 5 beautiful grandchildren. Number 6 is on the way, September. I'm fortunate, so. We have lived in this community for over 39 years. I have voluntarily served over the years on the Amherst Recreation Commission, the Amherst Senior Citizen Foundation, and even participated back many years ago on the Amherst Bicentennial Master Plan Committee. Today, I'm part of the Western New York Students First organization, and I also consider myself an advocate for senior citizens, giving them a voice in local policy decisions. So I will go to school board meetings, I will go to town board meetings, and I'll talk about interests of both youth and seniors, especially today with all the inflation, the high interest rates, and the costs just to fill your gas tank. So I'm a certified financial planner professional who owns and operates a financial services company here in Amherst. I have a business degree from Canisius College. Board members have enormous responsibilities. They feel a moral obligation to support their schools with their knowledge and life experiences. I will proudly represent your interests on the Sweet Home School Board. I promise to represent you, the Sweet Home community, and work diligently to return the primary focus to the education of our children. With your support, you lost me here.
That's okay.
Did
It'll
my
come
time
back.
up?
Yeah, it'll come back.
That's all right. With your support, is it on or no?
You're good.
Okay. Again, I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Before we do ask for questions, we'll open it up to the audience if there are any questions. Dr. Genestri, as I made mention at the onset, did share with our school community tonight and tonight's activities, and did ask for questions if folks had them for the meeting. So I'll start kind of with, there is one question here that I'll start with, and then we'll kind of open it up to the floor if there are others. So Danielle, we'll start with you again, if you don't mind. The question is, it's a two-parter. Is there a specific reason that motivated you to run for the school board? And then secondly, do you have a vision of enhancing a program or creating something new for Sweet Home that might not be offered present day?
So I think I kind of talked about this a little bit at the beginning, that the teachers very heavily were a reason for doing this, because I saw how hard everyone was working to get something through and thought, what can I do to help? What can I do to help next time? In addition to that, I think, I would be remiss in not saying that my children were a motivator for me deciding to do this, because I think as parents, you want the best for them. And while what we have is great, we have some holes. So I've made mention, in a few other, in the magazine, I think. My youngest son, Matthew, is autistic. He's in an 811 classroom at Maplemere. And next year, we're shopping for programs for him, because for the sort of child that he is, our middle school is not able to accommodate his needs. So I think for the second part of that question would be to have a pulse on those types of things for parents like myself who have loved our experience here the whole way through. And then we hit a speed bump like this, and it's devastating. It feels devastating to have to come out of a comfort zone where, this learning community has been so wonderful and supportive, and now we have to go somewhere else. Like it physically hurts. So I think, and it's a little bit like what Jonathan was explaining, that, there are students that have needs that we continue to have to keep up with. Things are changing, and we have to be able to accommodate everyone.
Thank you. Jonathan, same question.
Alex, to build off some of the things I said in my initial introduction, I'd say that in terms of my motivations, I'm someone who believes strongly in the importance of making sure that all students can have access to a good quality education. I believe in the importance of being involved with your community and trying to do what you can to contribute to it. Initially, wasn't necessarily thinking of running this year. I previously ran for school board a couple of years back, but then I'd heard about how Kelly McDonald had resigned from the board and how Mr. Feldman was going to be leaving as well. And it looks like that the board would need more some engaged members of the community to step up to put themselves forward so that they could have people to carry forward with the tasks we face. And in terms of things I'm particularly interested in trying to help improve at the Sweet Home, I would say the one aspect I'm particularly interested in is trying to ensure that we work on improving the quality of the services we have for students to meet their academic needs, whether that be from neurodiverse students or other forms of diversity, so that our students can be getting a greater degree of support so that they can better flourish within the schools.
Thank you. Mr. Plath, same question.
My motivation for, running for school board, I don't know if there was a specific thing that drew me to it, but the main focus was my kids. And knowing that I'm at a point in my life where I can dedicate, like I've always been involved. Now I have more time to be able to take that next step and be more involved on the academic side of things. I want, like I said in my introduction, I want the best for my kids. I want the best for everybody else's kids. There were a couple things throughout this past year that kind of sparked my interest more. One was we had a safety meeting that I attended, and like to my dismay, there wasn't a lot of people there. And I want to be able to engage more people to be involved with the school community in general. As for a specific program that I'm looking to implement, I'll be honest, I don't know what I don't know. I haven't been on the school board. I haven't been ingrained in all the nuances of everything that's going on in our schools outside of what my children have experienced. I will say that I want every child and student to have the opportunity to succeed. So I would dedicate, my candidacy and being on the board in understanding what is needed and then making the necessary adjustments moving forward.
Thank you. Mr. Kenny, same question, your motivation for running and a program that you might look to institute.
Multicultural night at Willow Ridge. A parent came up to me and said, "You should run for board." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I was considering it, and I talked to my wife that night. And more I was like, no, you know what? I think I can do this. I can handle this. It's not easy, but I think I can do it. I think I have the requisite abilities. I think I have the connections with students through coaching and through our athletic and arts programs, and have met and learned about a lot about our students in this district. When it comes to the specific things, two things. One, I would love to be able to figure out a way to get rid of the iPads and get to laptops, because I see typing as a very practical skill that a lot of our students lack right now. So any way we can get keyboard extensions, Chromebooks, anything else. We've talked to other families in other districts, and we are the only district that I have found, and I'm sure you can point out that I'm wrong here, but the ones that I've talked about were the only ones with iPads. So let's find a more practical way to teach them the life skill of typing, because it's something that they're going to be doing for the rest of their lives. Also, my father died by suicide back in 1998. I'm a huge advocate of mental health. Tough, right? Growing up, teenager, maybe I overcompensate now a little bit, but that's fine. I'll figure it out, right? But making sure that those students and those families in our community have that support for mental health, it's beyond important to me, and something that I've been working for my entire life.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Mr. Rabinold, same question.
Why would anybody in their right mind want to serve on a board where you're dealing with people, their money and their children? It's a question I get quite often, but again, for many years I did that. And the rewards come with seeing children do well. The best part of serving on the board is shaking the hands of all the graduates that walk across the stage at UB. It's really emotional. Some significant ones I can probably tell you, but I won't at this point. I think we have multitude of programs that really need to be better looked at in terms of what they're producing, what kind of results they're producing. So I come in on that second part of that question more as an efficiency, effectiveness of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And honestly, I'd like to see more results posted publicly so the public can see that. When I talked about WIMS in here, that's something I'm very, very serious about pushing back on. We've had over those years, the Compact for Learning, No Child Left Behind, Common Core. Where is Common Core today? Today we have DEI. What are they doing? How are they promoting? What are the results of that? I mean, it's again, we keep chasing whatever Albany and the Board of Regents want us to do. I think, again, I know Sweet Home analyzes things very well. I'm not picking on you, but I think we can do more to at least push back somewhat on these things. Thank you.
Those are the questions that came in via email. I would open it up. If anybody has any questions from the audience, feel free to come to the podium, introduce yourselves to the board, ask your question, and we'll go from there. Mrs. Jason, why don't you come up to the podium, please? No, why don't you come up to the podium, please?
My name is Marianne Jason. I've served for 17 years on the board and
Catching up.
Catching up. My question is this, as a Sweet Home community, we have really embraced the DEI culture. How would you move that forward?
So we'll just kind of shake it up a little bit. Jonathan, we'll start with you if you don't mind. In this instance, question about DEI. Okay.
Okay, yeah. And for that, like many people, think that there's been our school district has done some good work with advancing DEI over the years. After all, with it, at the core of things, it's important that we work to support all students, and that all our students should feel welcome and part of the community. And thus, in order to do that, we have to recognize the diversity that exists within it and work with that diversity. If I were to be elected to the board, I would like to continue to work with the other board members to help with and the members of the community to help keep moving that forward. That'd be it'd be interested in looking at what is currently being done and what else could possibly be done to help with addressing forms of diversity that haven't been gotten as much attention so far.
Thank you, Jonathan. Alan, if you don't mind answering the question.
Sure.
of DEI.
In regards to DEI, I've served on the Workforce Diversity Subcommittee, so I've been exposed to it in the Sweet Home District. And one of the things that I said early on when I was part of that committee was, you have to make sure that it's not lip service. I work with a lot of executives globally where DEI is a buzzword, and it's just 3 letters that they say just to say. You have to have an understanding of what it means in order to educate other people about that. DEI isn't just race. It's about belonging. It's about different backgrounds. It's about different upbringings. For instance, I was adopted. That's a different upbringing than somebody else. No people won't know that about me looking at me. Where they are economically. All of that needs to be understood by the community. And I think getting that word out and making sure that we're on that track will create more buy-in in regards to the diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives.
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Kenny?
A lot of different things jotting down here. I would love to see more attention for the lunches and the breakfast. Let's get some more cultural food options in there. I know that they've moved towards, cultures that necessarily may be eating as much red meat. So I understand that that's something, but I think that we can introduce our kids to different cultures just through subtle ways such as that. Promoting on social media, all the social media accounts. I think we've done a pretty good job, but I'd like to see a little bit more of that in the videos, like the DE&I videos that the district has been putting out. Obviously, educational programs for all the students in incorporating it, not just like, let's all go down to the auditorium and learn about DEI. It's not just that, right? It's actually embracing it on a teacher level and making sure that we can have those ideas kind of diffuse into everyday culture. It doesn't have to be a lecture. It can be something that we can all choose to just embrace day to day. And then, of course, as Alan was alluding to, mental health and LGBTQ plus kids as well. We got to include everybody in this. It's not just I look different, right? There's things inside too that we can't see. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Ravenel?
Certainly, I, again, spent 3 years. I am on the DEI committee. Thankfully, they allowed me on even with my kind of objective, diverse view of things. And much of that was to really understand where Sweet Home wanted to go with it. There's a 63-page document you can pull from the Board of Regents. And again, it was a suggestion, not a mandate. Sweet Home has embraced it and is trying to move forward with various principles of that. There are some things I definitely do not agree with, and some things that I can understand. But again, at the end of the day, if it makes children feel comfortable and safe and can learn and can come to school and express themselves, I think it's a wonderful thing. So.
Thank you, Mr. Ravenel. Danielle, if you finish us off with this question.
Going last is hard for a question like this, because I feel like so much of what I feel has been sort of sprinkled throughout what everyone has said. So I've done a significant amount of DE&I work in my career. And I can't remember which one of you said it, but I think it was Alan, was talking about how DE&I is lots of different things that you cannot see about a person, right? It's not just federally protected categories, it's age, it's neurodiversity, it's some things that are not always visible to the naked eye. And I think where we are going with DE&I is great. It's one of those things that you have to take steps toward it. It's not going to happen overnight. It is a process. And our landscape and our tapestry here at Sweet Home is continuing to change year by year with the children that are coming into this district, with the children that are exiting this district. So I think, it kind of starts in the classroom, because those kids are going to come home and say, guess who's in my class now? Or guess what we learned about today? I saw an amazing poster that the kids at Maplemere did to celebrate Autism Awareness Month. I mean, that is a type of DE&I, is that type of acceptance. So when those topics and those ideas are woven into the curriculum in those teachable moments in classrooms, the kids are going to absorb it. They're going to come home with it. They're going to do something with it. And then that's how you involve the rest of the community. So I think it was also Alan who said something about that safety meeting, the one at the high school, right? And I was there as well. And it was kind of disappointing because there were not a lot of parents there. There were a lot of empty seats. And so we can't always count on things like that we try to do with the community to fill the seats and have people come. They can't always do that. But if we're sending kids home with that knowledge and we're sending kids home with that idea, that is going out into the community and they're sharing that with their families.
Thank you, Danielle. Mrs. Jason, I think you have a
I did. I
second
had
question.
One more question. I consider us a pretty high-functioning board. We work together well. From all the different meetings that you've attended and watched, what is the one skill that you feel you can add to the board?
Alan, we're going to start with you this time.
Start on
if you
me
don't
again.
mind.
Okay. I feel that, my approach is pretty level-headed. The skill that I think I would bring is I can listen to multiple points of view, right? And I can figure out what makes sense. Not everybody is going to agree, but I feel like I'm very good at building consensus around ideas.
Thank you, Alan. Bill?
Taking the time to break it down, not rushing. I'm pretty understanding of the time, you know, obviously there are time restraints, but within the time restraints, there's a lot of different ways we can go about things. So let's take the appropriate amount of time and the appropriate amount of voicing opinions. Let's take the appropriate amount of time of coming up with the, you know, the top 3, top 5, whatever it is. And then let's make the decision based on empirical and not so much necessarily on the emotion and what's the best for all, maybe not, or the most, not necessarily just what's best for myself.
Mr. Abinold?
Other than my white hair, guess I bring a little bit of finance background. I'm very involved in the community, so I have a tendency to want to understand what their points of view are and bring that to the board. And then again, experience. I have the experience. I know how to work, and I've ran board meetings, and I don't want to use it as a crutch here, but it is a skill. There are courses you can take if you get on the board that will teach you what boardmanship is about. They're very valuable courses. So anyways, thank you.
Danielle?
So by nature, I am a questioner. I'm kind of like a 3-year-old sometimes, in that I'm just consistently asking, you know, why? Why does this work this way? How can we change it? What can we do? Can you please give me more information? So I feel like my quest for understanding is sometimes a thing that can lead to transparency. I think sometimes we get sort of trapped in our own sort of bubble of understanding where, you know, the daily or the weekly activities of the board, everybody that sits here, you know, knows what's going on and they're aware of things. And there's sort of a synergy where you don't always need to spell everything out. So I think just the ability to constantly stop and fine tune things and question them and say, well, you know, I heard something else about this that maybe we should consider, you know, in addition to whatever we've just been talking about, can help to try to reframe things from a different perspective and make a greater understanding so that the public feels as though they are getting the transparency that they desperately desire.
Thank you. Jonathan, if you can finish this question for us.
Yes, with my background as a historian, I have a lot of experience with researching and analyzing complex topics, which I would hope to apply those skills to looking at the issues facing our district, to look at available scholarship, available sources of information, the different perspectives that people hold, and be able to bring that information together to synthesize that into a deeper understanding of those topics and the possible approaches that could be used to address them.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from the audience at this point in time? Miss, come on up, Peter.
We need to suspend the rules? No.
We didn't for Mary Ann, so he is a district resident,
Oh.
last I checked.
Peter Belanti. I am a district resident and a member of the Board of Ed. So my question is, it's actually a 2-part question, sorry. If you are elected, you would be one member of a team of a 7-member board. Like most teams, there is not always a unanimous consensus on issues. So my 2 questions are, 1, how would you address a difference of opinions within the board members or with other board members? And 2, could you support a board decision that you are not in favor of, but the majority of the board is, while also keeping executive session rules and regulations of confidentiality? Well, you know, it's a tough question, but.
So Mr. Kenny, you're next in line, so we'll start with you.
So I was just doing a training at work last week, and it came up with this, talking about the counter argument, right? And the conclusion of making the counter argument is either continuing on or understanding and being persuaded, right? And it's not an admission of defeat by any means if you are persuaded by someone. That's what a board is. That's why it's a board and there's not one person making every decision. So a difference of opinion, I've been on, I have been on boards before where I have held the minority opinion and I've still gone forward with the decision. So I'm very comfortable with that. And as far as majority decisions and what happens in that room, what happens in that room stays in that room. I have no issues with checking the ego at the door and coming out here, sitting in front of the public and defending any position that the board makes. You got to be a team player, and I'm just hoping to be elected to be part of a team at this point. That's what I'm looking for.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Mr. Rabinold.
I think as a board member, you need to argue vehemently for your position. At the end of the day, the vote is the vote, and it carries. You are responsible as a board member to support the unanimous decision. Again, that does not mean you have to go along with all that, but you certainly need to argue your position and actually try to convince the other board members of where you were going. Again, that's happened over the many years that I was on the board. And it's tough. You do things in executive session. Again, I know that. You can't release that information to the public. So certainly I wouldn't do that. So thank you.
Danielle?
I think keeping things respectful is paramount. When you have 7 people in a room and you ask them any question, they are probably not all going to unanimously agree on a solution. That is just human nature. I think as long as, again, students are top of mind in all decisions and the adults that are making those decisions can be respectful and can listen, and you can argue vehemently and you can still be respectful about things. And if you're in the minority decision, just like Phil said, like I have been in the minority for decisions before where I was the only person in the room that felt a certain way. And, that's okay. You do the best that you can to say what you need to say and to get past what you need to get past. But if it doesn't, you still have to work together. You still have to see each other every week. You still have to function for the community. So egos have to be put aside. You have to do what's best for the kids. And for the second part of that question, I imagine that has got to be very frustrating to not be able to share certain things. But again, for the functionality of the board and for making sure that decisions are sound, it's something that you have to do.
Thank you. Jonathan, your response, please.
Yes, I would say that in my over the years, whether it be in my academia or historical societies or other groups that I've been involved with, I've often come across people who had different ideas than me, where we'd end up talking out and explaining our different positions and making their cases. Actually, not too long ago, last year in one of the groups I'm involved with, I had this other guy who was also on the board who he and I had quite different views on the organization's strategy and how you should handle certain things. And with that, we ended up talking with each other at lengths over email and other discussion forums, explaining our different perspectives and what reasons why each of us supported a certain idea of how we wanted things to be done going forward. And even though we don't agree with each other on everything, we still had a better understanding of each other, of where we were coming from and ways we could work together to move things forward. And with that, I've had experience with certain boards where certain information has to be kept confidential when certain discussions are done, and acknowledge the group decision is the group decision in the end. So in that regard, having to do these sort of things for the school board is something that I'm experienced in doing.
Thank you. Mr. Plath, if you'd finish it off for us.
Sure. In regards to having a minority position and being able to deal with that, and I think it comes back to what I've said when I spoke earlier. It's about listening to different points of views. I sometimes have ideas and I'm persuaded to a different idea if it makes logical sense. I will adamantly, fight for my thought process if I believe in it, but I also understand that I'm not always right. I'm part of a team and I can compromise. In regards to confidentiality in keeping that within house, I do that on a day-to-day basis with people's careers, as well as, I understand that we're part of a team. We want to have a unified, voice. So that would not be an issue whatsoever.
Thank you. At this point, any other questions from the floor, audience?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mr.
listen,
Feldman.
I'm gonna read your minds. And right now you're thinking, oh God, another question. You bet. You bet. So there's a lot of good ideas up here. And as I was kind of thinking through what your responses were, this is a 3,600 student organization with a budget of $100 million, hundreds of staff and faculty. It's a big ship to steer. So it's not so much what you would do, it's how, right? Leading organizational change is probably one of the greatest challenges you can have as a leader. So tell me about your experience leading organizational change in a large environment, how you frame the problem, how you assess it, how you evaluate alternatives, and then how you implement, right? And if you don't have experience in that, tell me how you see you would do it in this setting in the board. Please.
Mr. Ravenel, you're first.
Well, let me define what a board member's role is. Day-to-day operationally, we hire a guy. Hopefully he's the right guy. Seems to be doing a pretty good job, the current man. But board members really set policy. And in that policy, they can narrow or expand what they want the day-to-day operations to be. There's a book out there by John Carver called Policy Governance. It's a good read. And that's what a board does. So my experience, other than my small business practice, has been on this board setting policy and guiding this district to, I think, where it is today.
Thank you.
Danielle?
So change management is a significant part of what I do in my day-to-day career, working with organizations to try to help them, whether mergers and acquisitions, change in staff policies, creating learning so that they can make it through that process in one piece. So I'm going to give you an analogy that I gave to the school board when I talked to them a few weeks ago. And that was the analogy of being in a band. Now I have like no musical talent. Okay. It's not coming from a place where I know how to sing or anything, but looking at it from the perspective that you can't stand there and sing alone. You have to listen to the other person when you're in a band or you're doing a duet with someone. And if you're not listening to them, you're going to be out of tune. If they're not listening to you, they're going to be out of tune as well. So I think when it comes to situations like a school board where there are 7 people all singing to their own tune, having to have awareness of what other people are thinking and what they need and what they're proposing and what their strengths are is paramount to change management in this regard. I think someone else had said, you're not up here alone. There's 6 other people with you doing this. So everyone's going to bring something different to the table. Everyone's going to have a different set of expertise. And I think we can all teach each other how best to weather the change of the district.
Thank you, Danielle. Jonathan?
Well, in terms of change management, one thing that I'm reminded of my experiences was that several years ago, I served as a representative on the curriculum and teaching committee for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Alfred University. During my time there, one of the big things that was being done was a push to try to create a new minor program within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences for minors in social justice, which with that it involved an effort among those who are within the committee, as well as interacting with those outside of the committee to discuss aspects of how the proposed minor program we planned, the aspects of its details, its staffing, and such. And with that, there was efforts to discuss with people more broadly, to survey people within the broader programs within the university to gauge interest, to help explain to people the ideas for it. And with that, the committee members worked with the overall broader organization of the college to go through the established process for being able to get a program designed and approved, so that by the time it was around the end of my term in there, it was able to be able to get done by having the people on the committee work together and work through the process that needed to be done for it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Alan?
Sure. So with my business, there's not a ton of transformation because I'm a one-man operation. But I do work with a lot of people that is their jobs, director of, business transformation, change management executives, things of that nature. I think change management and transformation comes down to getting the people that are involved to understand the why behind it. You have to create buy-in or it's not going to move forward. You can't just throw change down somebody's throat and say, we're doing this just because. They have to understand the why behind it. And I think it's all about educating them on the benefits of why that is occurring. Now, specifically, years ago, before I was doing what I do now, I had to address that, and this was before change management and business transformation were buzzwords. Compensation changes, where it significantly would affect my staff in a negative fashion. You'd have to communicate as to why that is happening. How can you make that up in compensation? Predominantly, I was dealing with sales representatives, and giving them the reasoning behind it, and then keeping them moving forward.
Thank you. Mr. Kenny, if you could finish us off.
Sure. Professionally, I sit on what we call the innovation team at my work. I took over a vendor relationship that was not good, to say the least, about 5 years ago, and have changed that through just talking and getting people on the right page, where now at work, when they talk about this vendor relationship, they're not hemming and hawing or thinking that things are going to be terrible. They understand that things are going to get done, right? So that's the professional standpoint. Been head coach of baseball for 4 years now. Took a team that was under previous management, let's call it, and in 3 years, turned that around because we went back to basics, right? We teach fundamentals. I like teaching fundamentals because fundamentals are what we build on. If you don't have a good base, you don't have anything. So you got to make sure that kids, teachers, administrators, whoever it is, we all need better fundamentals. And if we focus on our fundamentals, then we're going to be in better shape with things. And then, as a father of 3, you're involved in change management like almost every single minute of every single day. For the parents in the room, you understand that, right? And it's probably the hardest part of your day, trying to convince them that. But look, this is about the kids, right? So you deal with that change management and you make sure, and it is very different talking to a 1st grader, 4th grader, 7th grader, somebody in Boise, Idaho, when I'm talking to them on a vendor relationship. But you maintain that same consistency all the way through. You respect the person and you make sure that they understand where you're coming from. Fundamentals, you'll be fine.
Thank you. Best of luck to each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? Going once, twice, sold. This is certainly not easy to do. I commend you all for doing what you have done tonight, not only in coming forward, but kind of answering questions that you were not prepared for. So job well done. Just maybe a round of applause for these folks. Just a quick reminder that the budget vote is on May 21st from 7 to 9 a.m. Information about our candidates can be found on our district website at sweethomeschools.org. All of their bios are in the Sweet Home Source magazine that is being mailed home as we speak. So again, the Board of Education election is one of three things that the district residents will be voting on in 2 weeks on May 21st. So thank you to our candidates. I'd ask our candidates to kind of come back to the audience. I'd ask our current board members to come back to their seats at the table. We do have a study session that we need to get to here. So thank you to our candidates and to all of the questions. Too.
Let's make a deal.
That's so good.
Mike, are you putting something back up? Yeah.
No, that's kind of what I was looking for. Shift one over. Take a sign for the other.
I did what he did.
Rookies. Yeah, said it all of them, so it doesn't matter if you take the sign. Log me out again, damn it.
So thank you, Mr. Feldman, for emceeing tonight's Meet the Candidates night. And also want to thank all of our candidates who came up here. Definitely not easy to answer questions, but everybody did a great job. And so we are looking forward to the vote on the 21st and bringing our community together here at Virgil's for, it's always a special night. Just a couple updates for the board.
Clarify real quick, Dr. Genestri, I'm sorry. It is 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
What did I say?
You said
7 to 9 a.m.
Made it sound like it was 2 hours.
Well, you know, wishful thinking. Oh, done.
Certainly be a much
So
easier day.
I checked my fault, 7
Just want to make
a.m.,
sure that, you know,
9 p.m. Chicken barbecue is from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
thank you, Mr.
Do you
Feldman.
have to make a reservation for a barbecue or can we just?
For you? No.
They are
No.
excellent.
No,
and so
no,
I want to
no.
make sure that,
No, they are first come, first serve.
that I reserve 4 of them, please. Okay.
Wonderful,
Not
thank
all
you.
for me, but. So as I said to the board, I'm going to update the board every meeting regarding our Heritage Heights teachers and their trip to Ghana this summer. If you've been in the hallways of Heritage Heights, it is getting loaded with supplies that our teachers will be shipping to Ghana on their educational mission trip this July. There are a group of 6 teachers over at Heritage. They have done several fundraising events, including a scavenger hunt this weekend, all with great success. And the Heritage community is really rallying around our teachers and the work that they're going to be doing this summer. So kudos to our teachers. And again, we want to keep this program in the spotlight. And I know it was Ms. Slagle featured them in the Sweet Home Source this month, which in going through, we got our copy hot off the presses. Just super happy with our magazine again. So so that's featured in there and really going to promote this event as much as possible. We continue working on our hiring season as we speak. It is really occupied in a great way. A lot of our time at district office and throughout our buildings with our school leaders. We've really had a tremendous response to our openings. We are very excited and optimistic that we will be hiring very, very talented faculty members to fill 23 open positions here. Our panel interviewing is started this week and will be taking place throughout May. Candidates will also be doing demos in May and June in front of a group of stakeholders and students. And then pretty much every Friday from now until the end of the school year, we'll be doing final interviews in the superintendent's office with our potential candidates and very, very excited again to bring a new talent to Sweet Home. I also want to, now that we're in May, there's a lot of celebrations that'll be going on between now and the end of the school year. And so we had Principals Day last week. I wanted to, in front of the board, thank our principals for all of their hard work and their leadership that they do in our buildings. I'm not just saying this. We have principals in this district and administrators in this district that are working 24/7 to improve outcomes for our students. More and more, our educators are being asked not only to increase the academic achievement level, but now we are also tasked and proudly tasked with making sure our students' emotional and social supports are needed in place. And our principals have really accepted the mission of this district and are leading their buildings and their departments in an outstanding manner to make sure that we are rising as a district and continue to grow. So I wanted to give a shout out to our principals and our administrators, our directors, for all of the hard work they're doing and putting students first. I also wanted to thank last week and this week, we're celebrating our teachers. Through a Teacher Appreciation Week, there's been a lot of celebrations in our buildings. And I personally, from district office, wanted to thank the efforts of our teachers and going in and day out. And again, helping the academics, but with the social and emotional supports in place to really make sure our students thrive. Our teachers say yes to professional development. They want to grow. They understand that the mission that they have in front of them. And I'm not only speaking as a superintendent, but as a parent of this district. I could not be more proud to send my children here because of the teachers that we have in our district and the way they take care of all children. So kudos to teachers. You deserve your 2 weeks of appreciation for sure. We want to thank you enough. I can't say thank you enough for all of your efforts and what you're doing. And then finally, it's also Nurses Day. So we wanted to say happy, it is Nurses Week, but today is specifically devoted to school nurses. They do.
We'll clap for you later, Mary.
Yes, absolutely.
Nurses today, you later.
I hope I didn't mean to,
No.
Mary Ann, we do have a couple of nursing retirements.
I know.
If you ever want, like, we could make you a school nurse.
I could not do their job. I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. I could not. I've been a nurse for over 40 years and I could not do their job. Tremendous amount of respect for our nurses.
Talk about people in our district that's always say yes to kids and are there to help support in whatever need they have. They are not afraid to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. They're not afraid to handle anything that comes their way. They are outstanding with our parents and the communication that they send home. They care, they follow up if someone is sick. They're always going to have a student in their office the next day if they miss school. And it's just kudos to our tremendous nursing staff for keeping us all healthy. They're not afraid to talk to adults and treat adults in this district as well. Always willing to say yes, always willing to lend a hand. So thank you, nurses, for keeping this place really operational, open. I know we're on the back end of COVID, but I can't go say anything about nurses without saying the job that they did through COVID, the heroes for sure of our district, and just want to say thank you for all the work they do. So happy Nurses Day and
I'd
happy
be
Nurses
remiss
Week.
if I didn't say that when I graduated from UB over 40 years ago, school nursing was Band-Aid, school nurses was take a drink, lay down. The things they're seeing now, the complex care that these nurses are dealing with is just amazing. And kudos to them for taking care of each and every one of our kids. It's not just Band-Aids anymore.
No.
And the adults in
Absolutely.
their buildings.
And the
True,
adults.
true.
Yeah. If you think about the during COVID, the amount of work they did with adults,
Absolutely.
certainly, was just beyond, all of our expectations. So it was great. So thank you to our school nurses, for all the work that you do. And then finally, our transportation department, we are pleased to report that they had a 99% success rate on DOT inspections last year, 155 out of 156 inspections passed. If you've ever seen or been through a DOT inspection, it is quite comprehensive. And to say that our buses are running at that rate is just incredibly impressive. I don't know, Mr. Feldman, if you want to add anything to that, but just to Scott Kennedy and his crew, just a huge thank you. We wouldn't operate as a school without a healthy bus operation, so.
So for the first time, it's really under the leadership of not only Scott, but our head mechanic, Ben Beckman. We have a mechanic staff, including Ben, of 5 full-time mechanics that oversee our fleet of 68, 69 different buses and vehicles. To Dr. Genestri's point, one DOT inspection for a bus is about 2 hours in length. So it is an intensive all day. They do 4 of them. When they come and visit, they do take their time and go through it. It is a testament to the work that our crew does. It's a testament to that brand new building across the parking lot. But most importantly, it is putting vehicles that are in tip-top condition out on the road to keep our kids safe and transport to and from school safely. I went over on Friday. We got the letter from the DOT on Friday. I went over and just shared it with Scott and his team and just passed along our kudos because they've worked very hard to kind of turn over our bus fleet, maintain our bus fleet, and make it our garage and our transportation operation one of the best in Western New York.
Dr. Genestri, if I can jump in here too.
Yes, please.
But before I retired, part of my job is with IT support for New York State was supporting those bus inspectors and give it, so I knew all the bus inspectors. I was in the bus garage one day meeting with our people just to see how things were done when the inspector came in. So I asked him, and it was somebody I knew. I just said, "Can you show me what you're doing for this inspection?" And I stayed there with him for about an hour. And like Mr. Feldman said, he was about half done at that point in that hour's time. And when we think about our own car inspections and what they do, these are nothing like they are so many teeny tiny things. But the bottom line is it's keeping all our students safe on the road every day. So I say kudos to our staff that's keeping them in that position. It is a tough inspection.
Yeah, I would also argue that if a bus does not pass inspection, there's a scarlet letter that gets put on the windshield and it's taken off the road, which means that when it doesn't run, we don't get transportation aid back on it because we have to report that back to the state. So by keeping our vehicles in top condition and running, we are able to secure as much transportation aid as possible.
And I'd just like to jump in here. It's just a forgotten holiday, but it's close to my heart. Administrative Professionals Day. We would be nowhere without our administrative professionals. Sherry, we can't thank you enough for the things that you do. It was at the end of April, so it probably should have been in last month, but it's fine. It's one of those ones that kind of gets rushed right past, but please know that we appreciate you.
I commented, wasn't it a couple weeks ago, school bus driver appreciation. So thank you to all of them, where we would be nowhere. The first face our kids see every morning. Nowhere without them. So thank you.
Last one when they go home.
And finally, I'll just reiterate the message from tonight. Please vote on May 21st, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. In Virgil's Community Center right here where we're sitting. There are 3 propositions on the ballot. Of course, the budget, the use of general funds to extend the Maplemere temporary classroom, and the election of 2 Board of Education members. So May 21st, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., then chicken barbecue 4 to 7.
PM.
Yeah.
PM, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Mr. Genestri, could you just comment on what people need, what the criteria is for them to vote, to be able to vote?
Yes, they need to be district residents. They need to be 18 years of age, and they are good to go.
They should bring ID with them as well.
And bring
Yes.
ID,
And then you get
correct?
registered.
No, just as long as they're a resident.
Resident for 30 days.
There is a,
In the
Beautiful.
magazine.
In the
Awesome.
magazine.
awesome. We did have a Sweet Home Student Advisory Board, Superintendent Advisory Board meeting last week, and did encourage anybody 18 in that room to
make sure they vote that day. That's what I have tonight. If there's any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Wonderful. Okay. Did we go through all this? We did not.
Really. I probably, my
We
report
we
probably
skipped
jumped.
over a few
Yeah.
things. It's all right. We'll be voting on the agenda next week. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Minutes from the previous meeting? All right, communications. We have a letter from the Amherst IDA and Harris Beach Legal Alert. Anything else?
I'm actually going to ask Mr. Feldman, should we be concerned about that letter from the IDA? I rolled through it and it threw me off a little bit. But
I'm sorry, I don't, if you can fill me in, I didn't read it.
it was like 8 pages and I didn't understand what it meant.
I tell you what, I'll read it and I'll report back to the board
Okay.
next week. I'm sorry, I did not.
No, that's okay. That's just anytime they send us something confused, it concerns me because I'm wondering what it means in taking money away from us again. That's all.
I will review it and take a look.
Okay, thanks.
It's the workforce housing policy addendum,
Okay.
in case you,
It may not have a thing to do with us, but
Well,
it concerns me.
I don't want to mislead, so I'll read it and report back next week.
Thanks.
great, thank you. Okay, then we are on to upcoming events. We have chef and PTSA and concerts. It's end of the year, so lots of things going on. Open session for board policy 1510. This is open session is for topics related to tonight's agenda. Is anybody interested in speaking? Nope. Okay, moving on. New business, we have class placements and preschool placements.
Yes, 404 pages. I have not gotten through all of it yet, but I will have read it by next week. Did you read it? You did not.
I did.
Did you really?
404 pages already?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
He was at a conference this weekend. He had lots of spare time.
Actually, I didn't.
We're withholding our appreciation of you, Marianne.
I feel so unworthy now. I'll get to it.
All right, on to monthly financials. Our bids for medical supplies, athletic supplies, school bus parts. Questions? Stop me if you have any. Disposal of obsolete property. Policies, first reading. There's 2 policies up. The athletic team merger for our boys varsity hockey team. Transportation contract. School psychologist intern. Anything? No? Okay. Informational items. Hunter, would you like to?
Just ask you, does the intern, is that a paid position or is that a
It
volunteer?
is, yep. So we're moving into paid interns for psychologists because they're so rare to find. And then the goal is to keep them in district and yes,
Okay.
yes.
Is this part of the new education residency kind of program that the state's got going?
The psychologists have a little bit of a different program, but it's along the same lines. It really is to foster the pipeline to bring them in here. It is a very, very difficult certification to find.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
difficult.
Right? Okay, now Hunter, you can start.
That question.
I attended the district safety meeting on the 23rd of April. Heard updates on our safety initiatives with lockdown drills, fire drills, the workplace violence prevention plan, code of conduct, the district safety plan, and update on student initiatives led by Catherine Almodovar and Erica Chan. This week at the high school, we are doing Teacher Appreciation Week. So student government is sponsoring a contest where students can enter a photo of them with a teacher to enter that teacher for a chance to win a special prize. Have not yet decided what the prize is, but we have some ideas we're coming up with, but that's running until the end of this week. We will announce our winners on Monday. Student government also last Tuesday held a voting meeting where our Senate unanimously approved a bill to create a scholarship for senior members of our organization. The scholarship is titled the Sweet Home Student Government Association Leadership Award. It aims to honor graduating senior members of student government who have demonstrated a strong commitment to improving the student experience at the high school and who embody the ideals of our organization in their everyday lives. It's going to be awarded to 2 graduating seniors who have at least 2 years of service to student government in any role. It's a one-time payment made directly to the student after proof of enrollment at a 4-year institution in the amount up to $500 per student. We partnered with Mr. Feldman and the Sweet Home Chapter for Dollars for Scholars to hopefully have this scholarship in place for next year's graduating seniors members of our organization. And that is all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jason?
I also attended the health and safety meeting. They did mention that all our drills have been completed and spring fire drills have been started. Workplace violence plan has been reviewed, fully in effect by May 3rd. Of course, plan to be released to staff, and I assume that's already been done then. Signage update over the summer. They talked about putting convex mirrors in the stairwells, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Safety Summit was attended by central office staff. Trauma-informed information, possibly notifying parents about fire drills. You mentioned there were 2 opposing sides, so that's obviously nothing definite. Belonging survey to go out. I didn't catch the date on that, the belonging survey.
Next week or so.
This week?
This
Okay,
Friday.
kind of the culture of the district. There will
Yep.
be 2 versions, one staff version and one parent version. And then information to be vetted by the DEI, as I understand. it. Okay. Congrats to the middle school. They went over to Shays and they got a behind the scenes tour. Love the front of this. For anybody who's available the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, the Kennys, also known now as the Shays, quite a bit of nominations for our kids. So I'm going if anybody else can go. It's always a great event. What else? I sat down with my monthly meeting with Mr. Ryan, always gain a lot of information. And if you're able to do it with your principal of your school every month, it's so, I think, Brian, I know you do it quite a bit too. It's just so worthwhile just to sit down and gather that information. Let's see, what else? I think that's it. That's it for now. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Feldman?
Just one thing, I was at the chef meeting, as were Dr. Janessary and Mr. Feldman. A bunch of activities going on. The Dress for Success was reasonably well executed, just not very well attended, or very well executed rather, just not very well attended. So they have some ideas about how to maximize attendance next year.
Did you have were there a lot of clothes for that? I know, yeah, a ton of clothes.
Yeah, it was apparently a lot of fun for them to hustle them over to the.
Oh.
So I think it'll likely be in the school building next year. But anyway, so just that they continue to expand and grow and reach more students. And I appreciate the support of the district office to help with some of that summer surge with delivery of food. And then they're still planning for 2 major fundraisers next year. The meat raffle, which was a success this year, and then they're going to bring back the basketball game, which was even a bigger success last time. So they're really just kind of killing it. So nothing else.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Leibel?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is attended the PTO meeting last week, Thursday at Willow Ridge. Glad to report that it looks like they do have leadership interest, candidates interested in leadership for next year, because that's been a challenge, I think, not only for them, but for a number of the schools. The other thing I want to mention is with Teacher Appreciation Week, I also, my wife Jen is handling a lot of that for Willow Ridge. You know, they form committees and whatnot at the various schools. So not only do I appreciate the teachers, but also the parents, and a lot of effort in getting in coordination with the principals and the school staff to get, you know, whatever it is each school they're doing, but they're, you know, doing a great job there. Chorus for Maplemere and Willow Ridge, attended that last week, and they did a great job. It just, in fact, this this is how you know when it's such a great job is when then you're playing those songs on Alexa or whatever afterwards in your car and whatnot. So the kids, I do that myself now going to work because it's very upbeat music. It was the one I really liked was this it's The Greatest Show. There's so that was and they had a number of songs they did, but they did a great job, all the kids there. And again, that was Maple Mirror and Willow Ridge combined at the high school. And then 5th grade band along with 8th grade band at the middle school last night. And also, really, really great job. 5th grade went on first, did 4 songs, 8th grade went on. And also what's kind of neat to see is just the progression with the students. You could see, 5th grade did, again, great job, but then the 8th grade band, you could see that the level of talent and skill, at that level. And so it was fun. And I even saw a couple of parents in tears because for some of those kids, they're moving on to high school and, but they had really a great time. So nice events.
Great. Anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Johnson?
A bunch of them. I'll try to keep it relatively short. We had a legislative team meeting for Erie County Association of School Boards. It was the last one of the year. Talked about a bunch of miscellaneous things, following up on some of the bills that are in there. We talked a little bit about the enacted budget, which whatever. For the legislative breakfast coming up, we again have this year Senator Gallivan and Assemblyman Conrad. They're going to talk to us about how things rolled out this year and some of the goals that they've got in mind for last year, for this coming year. Having somebody from each side of the aisle, from each house, has been very beneficial. The two of them work very well together, so I'm looking forward to that. I attended a DEI committee meeting where we talked about the belonging survey quite a bit, among other things, and that's getting ready to go out. I was also in the safety committee meeting, which you guys already talked about. I sat in on a webinar put out by New York State School Boards Association about the enacted budget and what we talked about and what it should have been if they'd actually gone to full funding like they did last year and alleged they were going to keep doing. It should have been a $1.16 billion increase instead of where we landed. They did bring back Save Harmless, but it appears like what they did was turn around and take it out of schools like ours. And I know there's a lot more involved in that. The one thing that scares me the most out of the enacted budget was the governor decided they've been asking, SCD's been asking for a while, and I know it's been supported by all the groups like ours, superintendents, ASBO, et cetera, is to get a study in place to fix the foundation aid formula. We all know it's bad. Well, the governor put something in. She actually doubled the money that they've all been asking for, but she's going to have the Sonny Rockefeller Institute do the study. And they're going to have public hearings along the way. SED is supposed to help them. Something tells me they've already got the answer and they just have to figure out a way to write a report to it. I will say that out loud because I strongly believe it. Policy committee meeting, it was short and sweet. It was just the two policies. One of them is very detailed and stuff that had to be done. I think the important parts is the staff over at Special Ed worked at Katie and their group worked on getting all those details in. And last week, I went to an artificial intelligence seminar put on by Phillips Lytle downtown. I'm not quite sure how I got on their mailing list, but I'm thanking them for doing it. The seminar was fascinating and a little bit scary. They showed us quite a few things. I'm going to try and write up some of the details because I scribbled down a lot of notes and the things I did. But just overall, to hear it, well, it was very good and a lot of things to look into. One of the things they briefly, because this wasn't just for schools, it was for people in all kinds of business, but they did talk about policy being very important, how you develop it for your business and for your schools and anybody else. And for me, the other nice piece about it, the building that Phillips Lytle is in is one that I worked in for 22 years before the state decided there was too much asbestos for us to work there. So I actually convinced them to give me a short tour so I could actually go back and see what it looked like from when I was there. What a difference. It was pretty cool though. And we had the alumni committee meeting last night. We were talking about our scholarships and it's mostly just getting ready to work on what's coming up and where we're going with those. I'll stop right there.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Belanti.
A lot of baseball and softball games over the last couple of weeks. This past weekend I was at the NYSET RA in New York City. It was quite interesting. Caught a lot of politicians, Senator Schumer, Governor Hochul, Attorney General James, Comptroller DiNapoli. Spoke to the teachers union, so pretty interesting weekend.
Nothing. Anything else?
No, that's it.
This is, I missed one more thing. I also made it out to a unified basketball game. If you've never been to one, you got to get there. They're awesome.
I did miss that the other night. I had intended on going and circumstances did
Everything
not
else
allow
comes
for
up.
it. Yes. I do not have anything. I've been at the fields a lot, seen a lot of games. Our teams are doing great this year. I have Heritage and high school PTAs coming up this week, so I'll be on that next week. Anything else for anybody? All right, that brings us to the second open session. If anyone would like to address the board, you have 3 minutes. Nope, already. We'll be voting on personnel next week, teaching and administrative and service. Questions, comments? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for matters related to contract negotiations? We will not be returning.
So moved.
Second.